Welcome back to Just Chattin', and this is the series of videos we do on Thursday and Sunday evenings just for our own entertainment. So for all you Audie fans, yes, he is around. He really wants to play with his new bunnies. Not happening. But since we've got bunnies, I thought we might as well enjoy them, and I would share them. They are, in general, very calm, docile little creatures. That is not because they are traumatized or anything like that. They are calm because they are with their litter. There are 5 of them, and they sleep in a little pig pile all day long, and that seems to be having a really strong impact on their moods. Again, calm. And when I take them out, they're all just in a little heap, and they just look up at me. I think mostly they figure they're going to be fed, so they're not too distraught that I'm coming in to pick them up. They are doing very well. They are all gaining weight. They seem happy in as far as I can make that determination about bunnies. Audie would very much like to keep them. He had a dog. His dog passed away, and he's been looking for replacement pets ever since. Like, seriously, he'll bring me home a chipmunk and say, "Here, Mom, look what followed me home. Can we keep it?" And then I have to get the chipmunk to safety because Audie is cat. He might like the idea of keeping a small animal as a pet initially. But what happens when those instincts kick in? So, nope, not going to happen. These little guys are going to be fattened up until they are strong and healthy and can survive on their own, and they are going to be released into the wild. Oh, okay. Well, are you hearing? All right. They're going to be released into the wilds, otherwise known as my Mennonite's neighbor's alfalfa farm, which is going to be a great source of nutrition for them. I'm not sure how my neighbors are going to feel about it, but actually I probably won't release them right into the farm. I'll probably release them in a nearby woodland, but they're bunnies. They're probably going to steal some of the alfalfa. So what can I say? I am naughty. We're going to take a quick look at the intro, and we will be right back. So, we're back. And when I say we're back, I am not using the regal we. No, Audie is here with, maybe I should be using the regal we when we're talking about the Lord of the known universe here. Yes, Audie is still with me. I have a feeling that he's just not going to trust me with the baby bunnies. Mostly because I think he believes I want to keep them for myself. They'll be my pets, not his. So, yes, I think he's jealous, but I don't think it's exactly the way we might anticipate. I don't think he's upset that I'm giving the bunnies attention. I think he feels I am alienating the affections of his new pet bunnies. So, okay, the ex-royals of Montecito are quiet for the moment. I have my own theories on what's going on. I've shared them before. I think Nutmeg has had some cosmetic surgery, and she's waiting for the swelling to go down. Just my opinion, but we'll see when we see. The headlines lately have been a mixed bag of Nutmeg's second season of As Ever is being released by Netflix, and that will be in about a week. It's not the second season, it's the first season. They just released it in 2 batches. I am so tired of having to correct this, but I am not letting people get away with this because a second season implies intentional renewal, and that's not what this is. I think it's pretty clear that if Netflix had the option, well, they did have the option, and basically there was no more ironclad contract. Now they're just dealing with the Sussexes on a first look basis. If you come up with an interesting project, we'll take a look. One of the writers I had come across who was reporting on this, and I'm sorry, I do not recall which one, had branded this a face-saving move for all involved, and I think that's probably correct. I think the reality is that the Netflix, yeah, there you go, the Netflix collaboration is done.
I hate to say it, they're done like dinner.
And nobody wants to just come out publicly and say, yeah, they were a disappointment. You know, Netflix should probably bring Bill Simmons in. I'm sure he'll do it for nothing. The fact is, everybody knows what went on. Nobody is surprised. However, because Nutmeg and her sock puppet are being quiet, this gives me an opportunity to branch into some other areas that I would like to explore, but I never get a chance because they're always up to something. There's always something timely that needs to be addressed. Well, this is very old news. Let's start with the new news, and that is Andrew Lownie's book entitled is finally available in the U.S. So, yeah, I got a copy. I said I would. I will support this man. And by the way, I had mispronounced his name the last time I spoke about him. And I had said Lownie, and I later heard him addressed as Lownie, and he made no objection, so I am assuming that is, in fact, his name and his preferred pronunciation. So, my apologies, Andrew. I have nothing against you. I enjoy your books and would never have intentionally mispronounced your name. When I started reading this book, and I have a hardbound copy, so it's not like I can just plug an audiobook in and go. No, I have to actually physically read this with my eyes, meaning it's going to be quite an adventure and it's not going to be an easy process. Nevertheless, as I started going through the book, I realized there was like this little bell dinging off in the back of my head, especially when he was talking about Andrew and Fergie and their engagement, their initial introduction to the public as a couple. And bing, bing, the bells were going off. And that's when I realized, I think we are all dead wrong when we say Nutmeg has been using Princess Diana as her template. I think Diana is her fantasy. I think she looks upon Diana with aspirational eyes. But I think her actual template was Fergie. The more I look at this, and of course, I put the book down, immediately went back to all of the other contemporary sources. And remember, I am a contemporary source as well, because I lived through this. I was an adult when Andrew and Fergie got engaged, got married. So I have my own, not just my own memories of the engagement interview and the public support the couple got and the reactions. Not just that. But I remember being in the social climate in which those reactions took place. And Fergie was considered the great breath of fresh air. When she and Andrew gave that engagement interview, laughing and joking about what a good partnership they had. And that was it. It's like, we make a good team. And when I thought back to that one line, the next line that hit me in the head was, and I'm going to hit the ground running. I believe Fergie was Nutmeg's template. Not just for things like the engagement interview, when she undoubtedly wanted to capture that royal rebel, breath of fresh air, outsider in the royal family that Fergie had captured decades earlier. But I think she was heavily influenced by the fact that Fergie and Andrew very successfully monetized their titles. There's no question about that. By the way, I would heartily recommend Lownie's book if you have any questions about that, because he does an excellent job of documenting the finances of this couple. And gosh, their finances are so screwy, it would really take a team of doctoral level accountants to unravel the nightmare mess. But did they make a lot of money? Oh yeah. Did they monetize their titles at an extraordinary level? A Jeffrey Epstein level? Oh yeah. Fergie's massive debts, and we're talking $5 million and upwards, have been paid off by Epstein. We know that. That's a matter of public record. There is certainly a great suggestion that other sources of income for her, in addition to the late Queen paying off her debts, were some pretty shady Middle Eastern types. And I'm just going to let it go at that, because that's an allegation that I can't prove. But I will say, if you want the background on that, read Lownie's book. It's there. And I think that was what Nutmeg wanted. I think she didn't see Diana, although Diana was the most famous woman in the world. She was also wretched and miserable. There's no question about that. Diana was a profoundly unhappy woman. I don't think anyone would deny that. Fergie, on the other hand, oh yeah, she was having a good time. And I think that although Nutmeg certainly wanted the public to perceive her as Diana, you know, the virginal princess bride in the Cinderella dress, yeah, like anybody was going to buy that. I think that's the perception she wanted the public to have of her, because the public loved Diana. I think the real template, the reality, the life she wanted to live was Fergie's. And the more I look at this, the more parallels I am seeing. Because Fergie merchandise, well, Andrew and Fergie, I don't want to just blame Fergie. They were a team, remember? Andrew and Fergie merchandised access to their private space. You know, you want to come in and do an interview in our home? You're going to have to pay. You want to see pictures of our children? You're going to have to pay. And they did sell access. No question about that. Lownie documents this. And additionally, they were involved in a number of very sketchy deals. But one of the more interesting parallels is, does anybody remember that Fergie, too, wrote a book? And it was a pretty dreadful little book. It wasn't as bad as Nutmeg's, but it was certainly not great. And everyone knew at the time, if it hadn't been written by Sarah, Duchess of York, no publisher on the planet would have touched it. So what's the first private enterprise Nutmeg takes up after leaving the royal family? A book. And a pretty dreadful little book. Again, it's a children's book, because neither one of these women have the intellect to write a legitimate book that would be read by adults. So yeah, bang, Fergie 2.0. Next up, we have the American Riviera Orchard / As Ever / With Love Meghan cooking show, which is not even filmed in Nutmeg's home, but we do indeed have this weird thing going with press access to their lives. And I have to say, that one is striking me a lot as a sort of, parallel path to Fergie and establishing herself as a weight loss guru, because she's lost weight, which is a good thing. And I congratulate her for that. But does it make her a weight loss expert? I don't think so. But then again, cooking breakfast for the kids, assuming Nutmeg even does that, hardly qualifies her to run a lifestyle program, but she's doing it. So I'm seeing these parallel paths. Fergie did successfully monetize the title. Not only that, but Fergie has managed to maintain a public profile even after she and Andrew divorced. Now, in large part, that is because those two are still living together, and although everybody is scratching their head, it does give Fergie access to a continued relationship with the royal family. And I'm starting to think maybe this is the couple, Andrew and Fergie, that we should watch if we are wondering where Nutmeg and the sock puppet are going next. Because at this point, by the way, it's just a sort of nebulous theory I have. I'm seeing the parallels, but I need to develop it a little further. But I would say I'm pretty sure this is what was going on in the back of Nutmeg's head, lo those many years ago when she first targeted the sock puppet. Because when we see the interaction of the two couples at their engagement interviews, laughing, joking, clowning around, mugging for the cameras, it's very, very hard not to see the similarities. Charles and Diana, on the other hand, did smile, and they did laugh a little. It was very stiff and stilted in their engagement interview, but it was not this sort of adventures in comedy that Andrew and Fergie gave us, or that Nutmeg and the sock puppet later tried to recreate. Were they recreating the Charles and Diana engagement interview? Not at all. But I definitely see a lot of the Andrew and Fergie engagement interview. And then there are the other little touches. For example, Andrew and Fergie would walk around holding hands. Guess who else does that? You know? And when Andrew and Fergie did it, it was unusual, and people commented on it. This was not what royal couples customarily did. But people accepted that because it was so clear those two were friends. They were obviously besties. Lo, these many years later, they are still besties. They are still living together. So do I think there's genuine affection between those two? Abso-freaking-lutely. Do I think this is anything resembling a healthy relationship? No, I don't. Do I think that the way the Yorks merchandise their royal titles is something that should be copied? No. We cannot forget that Fergie was caught in a sting selling access to Andrew. And she admitted it. She said she was sorry. She said she was in a bad place. And everybody kind of forgives her because I think people just look at Fergie, and between the poor judgment, the massive debt, and her bizarre reliance on psychics and astrologers, we all just kind of write her off as a harmless flake. I don't think Nutmeg did. I think Nutmeg looked at her as a role model, period. And I think if you look at the trajectory of both couples, selling access to the kids, because Andrew and Fergie sold photos of their children. So it's not just themselves, selling access to their children, selling access to their homes, selling access to their private stories. Now, granted, they didn't take it to the extremes that Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet did, because Andrew didn't publish a tell-all memoir, and Fergie didn't give one of those great panorama-style interviews to Oprah Winfrey. Oh, never mind the whole docudrama they made for Netflix. But yes, I think because Andrew and Fergie did it years earlier, I mean, we're talking about, well, it would have been 30 years from when they started their little adventure, but they had done it 30 years earlier and retained their titles, retained the support of the British royal family, etc., etc., etc. They got away scot-free right up until the Epstein episode. And still, I think that would have been a very worthwhile template for Nutmeg to look at if all she wanted to do was merch the title and make money. Andrew and Fergie did it first. So, this is where I'm going to stop. Basically, it's a sunny weekend. I have bunnies to go back to. I'm sure you have things to go back to as well. But I just wanted to throw this out. Over the coming weeks, and mostly as I get further into Lownie's book to see what other recollections his material triggers, I am going to see if I can develop this a little more. Right now, oh, I know I'm onto something. And honestly, I think anybody who is aware of the trajectory of the Yorks and the trajectory of the Sussexes is going to see a very strong connection. Too strong for it to be mere coincidence. So, is Nutmeg trying to be Diana 2.0? She is not. She's trying to be Fergie 2.0. Wow, who would have thought? All right, thank you for being with us. I hope to see you all next time. And we're going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out. I think we'll probably do a slideshow on Diana because we haven't seen her in a while. And in the meanwhile, stay safe and have a terrific day.